For the longest time, the whole story of nuclear weapons was a drama with just two main characters. But the script is being totally rewritten. A new actor is on the scene, and it's changing the entire global balance of power. So let's get right into it.
You know the story, right? For about 50 years, it was all about the United States versus the Soviet Union, which of course became Russia. And yeah, it was incredibly tense, but there was also this strange kind of stability. The rules, as terrifying as they were pretty much understood by everyone. So what happens when a third major player enters the plot? Well, that's not a hypothetical anymore. It's exactly what's going on right now. And it's creating a dynamic that is way more complex and, frankly, a lot more unpredictable than anything we've seen before. To really wrap our heads around how we got here, we've got to take a step back and see how that old era ended and this new one kicked off.
This timeline really lays it all out. You see, after the Cold War ended back in '92, things kind of chilled out for a bit. But then, around 2014, the tension starts to ramp back up. Both Washington and Moscow committed to huge projects to modernize their forces. And then came the big one, 2018. That's when the US officially put it in writing that China was now a major nuclear threat to consider. The whole game had changed.
And listen, when we say upgrades, we are not talking about a few small tweaks here and there. The source material makes it crystal clear. This was a top-to-bottom, no-holds-barred overhaul. Every single missile, every submarine, every bomber in their arsenals was getting a massive, massive upgrade.
Now you can bet that this massive spending spree by the two original nuclear superpowers did not go unnoticed, and it prompted a very powerful reaction from the new player on the scene. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. China's rapid nuclear expansion isn't happening in a vacuum. A huge part of it is a direct response to what they're seeing the US and Russia do. It's created this strategic triangle, a three-way interaction that we've just never had to deal with before. Now, to get why what China's doing is such a big deal, you need to know this key concept, the nuclear triad. You can think of it as the gold standard for any serious nuclear superpower. If you want to play in the big leagues, you need one.
So the triad is built on three different legs to make sure you can't be taken out in one shot. First up, you've got your land-based missiles, your ICBMs, sitting in heavily protected silos. The second leg is at sea. We're talking nuclear submarines carrying ballistic missiles, hiding deep in the ocean. And finally, the third leg is in the air, strategic bombers that can drop nuclear bombs or fire nuclear cruise missiles.
So why is this triad so important? Well, it's all about guaranteeing you can strike back. An enemy might be able to take out your land-based silos in a surprise attack, but your subs and bombers would still be out there, ready to retaliate. It creates stability, in a weird way. And this is the main takeaway here. China is on the verge of completing its very own modern triad.
Okay, so you might be thinking, sure, but how many weapons does China actually have? Isn't it a lot less? That's a great question. But as you're about to see, just counting the weapons doesn't really tell you the whole story anymore.
I mean, just take a look at these estimated numbers from 2018. The difference looks staggering, right? The US and Russia have arsenals in the thousands, while China's count is way down in the hundreds. At a glance, it seems like they're not even in the same league. But hold that thought.
Because as the author of our source report points out, those public numbers for China have always been really uncertain. They're basically educated guesses based on limited intel. The real number could be very, very different.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Let's shift our focus away from just counting warheads and look at capability. This table says it all. When you look at the ability to actually deliver those weapons, that triad we just talked about, China is checking every single box. That puts them on par with the US and Russia.
This is really the heart of it. The new arms race isn't about who has the most warheads stacked up. It's about the quality and sophistication of the systems that deliver them. The missiles, the subs, the bombers. And in that race, China is absolutely a peer competitor.
So what does this all add up to?
Well, it means the strategic playbook that the world has been using for decades is pretty much obsolete.
For the United States, the entire calculation has changed. As the report lays out, America now has to focus on deterring two near-peer nuclear rivals at the same time. And that's a strategic challenge it has never, ever faced before.
So let's just boil it all down. We've moved from a two-player chess match, one that had established rules and arms control treaties, to a three-player game. And a three-player game is just inherently more unstable, more complex, and carries a much, much greater risk of a catastrophic miscalculation.
And that brings us to the final and most critical question we have to face.
We're in a new world with three major powers all racing to modernize their arsenals. Are the old rules, the doctrines of deterrence that were built for a two-player world, really enough to navigate the dangers that are coming?